get started. First off, I just want to thank you all for coming. It was so great to see people from all over the world, first off. And secondly, I heard there's a lot of people from the East Coast, all up and down from Prout Institute. So we are extremely grateful for you guys here and hope you feel welcome. I just want to thank you for that. If you don't know me already, my name is Jack Love. I'm a 2L here, and I am co-director with Julie Frey with the Food and Agricultural Division of the Environmental Law Society here. We have some environmental law students here that are excited to see this presentation. Huge, massive. So yes, we're very excited to have Filipa here. She's going to give a wonderful presentation, and I'll have Nada introduce her in a second. But first, I wanted to introduce one of our professors who's coming in as a panelist, and will hopefully add a little input in terms of how we can implement and execute maybe Filipa's plan in the United States, or any similarities in terms of transactional law. So we're going to start with Filipa's presentation, but then after we're going to do some questions. I will ask some, and then I'll leave it open to the audience. But firstly, Professor Jonathan Brown, right here to my left, joined the Hobb Law faculty in 2016. Professor Brown is the founder and director of the school's Food and Farm Business Law Clinic, which is 3 stories above us, and that launched in January 2017. The Food and Farm Business Law Clinic provides pro bono, transactional, legal services to small farm businesses, artisan food manufacturers, craft beverage entrepreneurs, and related nonprofit organizations. By providing pro bono legal representation to its clients, the clinic seeks to facilitate the development of a more just and sustainable regional food system and economy. So thank you, Professor Brown, for being here. Appreciate the time. Now, I'd just like to also thank Nada Cater for helping us execute and implement this whole thing. And you were really a big help with bringing Filipa and connecting us to her and the Prout Institute. Very grateful. So, thank you. So Nada Cater served as the Executive Director of Westpac Foundation for the past 24 years. Westpac has been recognized by the city of White Plains as a leading force in Westchester County for peace and justice work for over 5 decades. Now, Nada has been a student of Prout, the progressive utilization theory, for almost about 30 years. Astounding resume. Now, Prout is a vision of a just and peaceful world with an economy that works for all people in the natural world and is based on local self-reliance, cooperation, and guaranteeing all people the minimum necessities of life and ending poverty. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack and Julie. It was a pleasure working with you. Let's give the students another round. So before I introduce Filipa, I just want to mention briefly that part of why Fernando and Filipa have traveled all the way from Portugal is to join us for this Sunday. We have a big social justice gathering, bless you, in White Plains, starting at the White Plains Public Library. And it's a highlight of the social justice calendar every year for the Lower Hudson Valley. We bring together, we have about 40 organizations coming. There'll be a people's parade, there'll be a lunch, breakout sessions on food sovereignty, climate action, immigrant defense. There'll be lots of action. So if you, students particularly, would like to take a study break, I know you're in the middle of finals, that would be great. Also, I just want to introduce you all. Michelle Hughes is here from Glenwood. Please stand up, Michelle. Glenwood is a very important center for regional agriculture and sustainability. And if you don't know Michelle, it was a wonderful opportunity. She's traveled over an hour to be here with all of us today. And she also coordinates community-supported agriculture, which is super important as part of our food security work. We also have, Renee? Yeah. From the Feeding Westchester? Kelly. Kelly is here representing Feeding Westchester, which is our food bank, and it's a very important part of food security for our county. So she's also here, and there are other, yeah. And it would be wonderful, please, if you have not signed in, to make sure you sign in before. We'd love to stay in touch with you on this food security, food sovereignty work. So, I am deeply honored and delighted to introduce you all to Filipa Costa, who's traveled from afar. Filipa has a degree in psychology, and since 1995, she's dedicated her life to volunteering and coordinating social and humanitarian projects in Portugal and Africa, especially in the areas of local and community development and psychosocial support in vulnerable socioeconomic contexts. She currently lives in a small village in the rural region of Cova da Beira in Portugal. Since 2016, she's been actively collaborating with the Prout Research Institute Portugal, PRIP, where she now serves as president of the board of directors. So without further ado, please help me welcome Filipa.
Thank you. So, it's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me, inviting Fernando, my husband. Today, it's a very important day in Portugal, actually. 25 of April, it's the day of the Freedom Day in Portugal. We had 40 years of dictatorship, and today we celebrate the freedom from this dictatorship. And I found this very symbolic, because I think it's the first year that we are not celebrating this freedom, this day in Portugal, and we are here talking about food sovereignty. And I found this very symbolic, because for sure it's something that is the start of our freedom, our food. So I'm here honored to present the work that we are doing and the experience that we are having in Portugal. And we hope that this could inspire, and we hope for sure, and we know that we are going to learn with you so we can do best in Portugal, and I think we can do together here or whatever, what else in the world, because it's needed. Okay, so no further, I'm going to do this presentation, and to start with the roots, I said, sorry, again. This is the name also, the seeds for food sovereignty, because I think that's what we are planting now. It's really the seeds, and we will see the results in many years. So, but we need to start, and that's where we start. So let's see the seeds for food sovereignty. And the presentation that I have for you, so we would like to share a little bit briefly an introduction about our work, what is PRIP, what is the Prout Research Institute in Portugal, what we do, and what is Prout, very briefly. And then we go to the work that we are doing, so the steps to implement a local food system. And for that, we have our block level planning, so we are going into that, so to understand how do we start it. And it was with this block level planning, we are going to know a little bit more, and totally related to the block level planning, it's the community involvement. And in what in Prout we call Samaj movement, we are going into that a little bit also. From all of that, it comes our food sovereignty plan. We are going to share with you what we have, and some of the results and some initiative that came out already from this food sovereignty, that is the integral cooperative startup that we created now in Portugal. That is going to be crucial for the implementation of this sovereignty plan, and we are going to that. Okay, so let's go and to see a little bit where we are. So the Prout Research Institute, it has like a national level in our southeast, the Atlantic Ocean is through all the coast of Portugal. So here we are, and the PRIP mission, so we started in 2013, and the mission is to promote the progressive utilization theory. The progressive utilization theory, it's a viable alternative, socioeconomic alternative and model that focus on integral well-being of all beings. So we put the people, beings, all the planet in the center of the economy and serving, the economy serving all the beings, not beings serving the economy as we have. So for that we advocate for ethical leadership, for ecological balance, social justice, economic democracy, and regional self-sufficiency and cooperative enterprise. There are, of course, it's very briefly, but it's an introduction of what Prout promotes and advocates and what we are working with. And where we are now, so there's the region of Cova da Beira. It's like the center-north interior region of Portugal. We are near the highest mountain in Portugal. It's the Star Mountain, it's the name. And that's where we live and where we are focusing our work. So we have like 3 municipalities, Covilhã, Belmont, and Fundão. And this is the name, Cova da Beira. It's not a political and administrative boundaries. It's an identity, a cultural identity that is created through the history, because Cova da Beira, it's this very fertile land in between 3 mountains. And so the people grow in that region and created some bonds and some identity, a specific identity of this Cova da Beira. And here in Cova da Beira, what we have now, it's around 79,000 inhabitants. And for the start that we were talking about is about the block level planning. So what is this, the block level planning? The block level planning is something that in Prout we said it's the start of introducing the economic democracy and decentralized economy. And why? So it's something that Pierre Sarkar, it's the founder of Prout, the progressive utilization theory, that he says to develop an area economically, planning must start at the grassroots level. The direction of the economy development must be from the bottom to the up, not from top to down. So this is what it is, the block level planning. We are starting from the bottom. We are starting with the community, which means that we are promoting as a decentralized and a participatory local planning, because many times we have planning at a national level that it doesn't answer the needs of the local people and the community. The local people knows best and better what are their needs, their problems, and they should be the ones saying what they want for their futures. They should be the ones that saying what they want for destiny. And so, block level planning, it's this. It's to put people together from one region, and it promotes a small region that it is no more than 100,000 inhabitants. And why? Because it's small enough that we can go deep in our needs and problems, we can know the people, we can mobilize, we can get together and know each other, create our relationships that it's needed to implement whatever we want to implement. And it's large enough to create some strategies that have impact. Okay, so, and from all of that, the planning has 4 goals: solving concrete problems and bringing real benefits to the population. This is the goal of our planning. It's not the theoretical growth of our economy. It's solving concrete problems. And how we can do that? So in the planning we must have in mind to guarantee the minimum needs of the population. And not only the minimum needs, we need to increase the quality of life. And having in mind, so the block level planning has also as a measure increase the purchase capacity. We need to understand how people can actually access to what they need, the basic needs, and not only that, they can really develop their potential, physical, mentally, in a subtle way, spiritually. So we need to provide that and to plan for that. And so this is the block level planning. This is a beautiful picture. All the pictures are from Cova da Beira, so it's near the mountain. And so we started. In 2022, we started with this participatory diagnosis. And for that, we made interviews to 32 local organizations and local leaders in our region from many different areas of work and spheres. So we were working with university. We have one university in our Cova da Beira, so we work with that. It's very crucial to work with the experts. And so they were with us and others. So the environmental organizations, cultural, education, social, environmental. I'm sorry that the chart has some Portuguese words, so you can know some words in Portuguese. So we went and we tried to do interviews in a way that is representative of the region. So to understand really with them what they felt it was the main problems, the main needs, what they felt it can be the potentialities they identify as untapped resources or the potential that the region has, and what they envision as the main solutions, or some of them that were working already in some solutions, so we wanted to understand what they were, and what were their vision for the ideal future of our region. So this was our participatory diagnosis. As I think you remember, we had the COVID time at some point, so this was why it was a challenge for us to reach all these people and putting people to work together, so it took a little bit more than what we thought. But anyway, we had it all this diagnosis and participatory diagnosis, and we did it not only interviews, we also went and did collective sessions, vision sessions, and we went to the markets, we went to talk with the producers, so many different ways of trying to gather what the community was feeling and what they were envisioning. So we had these community sessions and visit local markets. And so it was a long process to 2020 to 2022, and we gathered information. We also did some research, so the team also did some parallel research, and we got until one report. It's available in our internet, our website, that is prip.pt. And for example, here it's the results, like the main problems and needs identified. And there's different ones, like the main ones, it's something that it's very, it's a problem that is identified in Europe and Southern Europe, that is the depopulation aspect, and of course this impacts a lot with the local economy, because people get attracted to the big centers, big cities, and so the youth goes and the rural areas get without a lot of service because there's no people there, and because there's no people, there's no attractiveness, there's no jobs, there's no local economy dynamic. So yeah, this is one of the biggest problems, and we found very interesting that after many different needs and problems, they were feeling the lack of cooperation and strategic planning in between the regions. So there were already association organizations doing something, but somehow they were not connecting and not cooperating. And they see that as one of the main barriers of development of the region. So into that, we really tried to address that. And this was completely aligned with what we already envisioned the block level planning, because it's the community aspect and the participatory aspect, it's it's very important. So that was one of the kickoffs of our project. This is one picture of our first event, and that is related with our community involvement. It is crucial in the work that we are doing. And this is the Cova da Beira Converge movement. So it's a movement of citizens and organizations that comes together to define and implement concrete actions that increase the self-sufficiency and resilience of Cova da Beira bioregion, and foster citizen participation, boost local economy, and increase the quality of life of the population. This is, for sure, the Samaj movement aspect, which means that we have a community, we can have plans, we can have very good strategies, we can have the experts thinking and researching and giving us solutions, but if we don't have the people there with passion to implement these solutions and strategies, we cannot have nothing. So this is the meaning of Samaj movement, because we gathered a group of people in their region that they are fighting for the economic democracy of their region and for the social justice of their region. So this is why the Samaj movement is important. Samaj means, it's a Sanskrit word, because PR Sarkar is from India, and it means, in a very basic way, it's society. So it means like the society is moving together. We are aligning our values, our ideas. And this is the starting point of our Cova da Beira. So what we have is we create thematic groups: agriculture, culture, environment, education, justice and social welfare, and territorial planning, which means that we had people that gather because of their profession, experience, or passion, and they gather and they were having part of one of these working groups, and all these working groups were planning together and going deep in this idea of the needs and solutions for the region. So this is the picture of our first moment together, people excited, and yes, for sure, these were words that people were feeling again: enthusiasm, hope, and joy. And something that we feel is very important, and sometimes we miss this part, and because we miss this part, everything is gone. The enthusiasm, the hope, the joy, we need to be there, otherwise people just lack the motivation to work together. So how we can guarantee this attractiveness, this joy, this celebration aspect to the little work that we are doing, especially if we are planning together, because many times this can be like a hard work and very, dense work. Dance, not a dance. So it was from here that we came to our Cova da Beira Converge gatherings. So we started to have monthly gatherings. In Cova da Beira, as I mentioned, we had 3 municipalities, so we were always having the gatherings in different places in a way of mobilizing more citizens from different regions, and also to have an opportunity to know different organizations and different already some group of people that were working. So we are always has an itinerant gatherings, and in all these gatherings we had the planning moments, like we are here now in working groups, we are working together. We also started to have roundtables. So we included in our gatherings thematic roundtables for specific topics that we feel it was important to go more deep in our and to achieve our mission. And so we had many different gatherings. We went to do some visits and planning sessions, and as I was saying, the dance moment. In the end of our gatherings, we always dance. There's a way of celebrating, and that's why in the end we are here dancing together. That was the way we found that we could keep the joy. So here you can have a briefly idea until the one in December of 2024. Now we are in the 26th already. But just to have an idea of the topics that we were bringing to the roundtables at some point. So from the 9th gathering, we were having many different topics as the cooperatives, local coins, water management, social welfare, the cultural aspect, economic democracy, so mining, housing, many different topics that we were bringing, so in parallel with the planning sessions and speakers and inviters. So briefly in numbers, just for us to have a good perspective, so we have 26 gatherings and 6 of them are thematics. Usually we have 20-30 participants in each of our gatherings. We are in a rural area, so it's a depopulated region, but which is very good. Until now we have 156 members in our community, Cova da Beira. This is our mailing list, and we went to 22 different locations and organizations that we visit. We are a team of 3, and yeah, so and 2 of them we part-time, and a very inspired team, very motivated team. We have 37 partners organizations, so that's why it's very important to always involve more. And in total we had 87 speakers in the round tables, and we also have the figure of mentors. So it's people that are related to the Cova da Beira Converge as an expert, or someone that we think they are very, they can give good advice to us. We have international mentors, and we have local mentors, national mentors and local mentors, so to have these different perspectives. Okay, so but to go again and now a little bit more deep to our topic of the sovereignty plan. So from all of these, we have 4 kind of actions in Cova da Beira Converge. So we have the aspect of the block level planning, and so actually we have this first report, the final report, but what we envision and what we see that is needed is to have a constant planning, because of course there are always new problems, new needs to address, and so it's something alive. It's not a plan that we do and we stop and we implement. No, it's something that is always alive. And we will have monthly gatherings and thematic group meetings that in between the monthly gatherings the groups meet and to implement the initiatives. We also do and participate in events. Now Cova da Beira Converge, because it's very known by the citizen participation and the way that we do, we are pretty much invited to events in the region to be present, to show what we have as initiatives, or just to facilitate the dynamic of one, for example, one community dynamic or moments. And we have these structural projects. That's what we are going now more deep for our structural projects. There are some examples from each of the working groups: the education group, the environment, social and justice and welfare, and cultural group and agricultural group, but I'm going now in more deep in our agricultural group to understand this. There were several proposals, but the food sovereignty was the first one that we started to work with. And the idea is to create this short chain between local producers and schools and social institutions. And also, we are a very touristic region. It's a very beautiful area, so tourism is pretty strong there, and restaurants, and of course the final consumers. So going to that, what the group, the question that the group did in the beginning is exactly this: what is the level of food self-sufficiency in Cova da Beira? And let's try to understand a little bit more how it's working now. And also they were bringing the idea of what it is, the food sovereignty for them, and bringing the idea from the Via Campesina. So it's where it was started for the first time, the implementation of this concept of food sovereignty. So it's for the people rights to healthy, culturally appropriate food produced using ecological, sound and sustainable methods. ensuring that the region inhabitants have the control over agriculture and food policy. So this is the main, what for them it's food sovereignty and what they are fighting and working for. So the strategies are going to focus and prioritize the strengthening of local economies, supporting the small-scale producers, and utilizing also our agricultural potential that is enormous, and establishing these short chains. This food sovereignty has different organizations that are aligned and partners in this plan. But I'm going now a little bit more in what it is. So we started with research, so to try to understand what are the main potential and challenge in the food supply chains. And we started to do interviews with farmers and meetings with institutions and the schools to understand that. For the farmers, we are trying to understand how are their needs, our challenge, and then with the institutions, are they consuming locally? Yes or no, and no, why? So from that, from this research, a lot of information came, but we could see so that we have a fertile region. We have a lot of potential. It's really incredible. And we see that 90% of the agricultural production is family farming, so small scale. So 90% are small scale producers. We also see and we understood that it's very difficult for them to sell their products. They have two small markets, and so it's something that is for them very hard to sell. And because of that, of course, they say, well, I have more potential in my land, but why am I producing? I cannot sell it. So anyway, I'm not using all the potential that I have. And of course, we go and understand that most of the product consumed by the final consumer and the institutions and the schools. So when I say institutions, it's social institutions. Can be elder's homes, can be, because it's, as I was saying, a very elder, depopulated region. And all of them were consuming, most of them, it's foreigners, so it's from abroad. Because of that, the producers, they didn't have organized account, so they didn't issue invoices. And because of that, they don't issue invoices. The restaurants, the institutions, the schools, they could not buy to the local producers. So we were seeing there's a gap, there's a barrier, very clear barrier. We also saw that when we went, of course, to big supermarkets, and there are some of them, they say that are interested in local products. But what it means is that they asked for a price that is completely so the difference from the price they give to the producers and the price that they sell, it's enormous. So the price that goes, the value that goes to the producers, it's very, very small, and it's a pressure for them. If they want to sell more, they need to sell very, very cheap. Also, we were seeing the price of the lands increasing dramatically. And so for the producers, more difficult, for the farmers, more difficult to have land to produce, and these were more costing more. We have our farmers over the 65 years old. They are getting old, and this is something that is completely, so this is the people that are feeding us, and we are alive because we receive the food, and because of all these conditions that we created, the system that we created, they don't have conditions to survive. So, of course, the youth doesn't want to do agriculture. They don't have a good quality of life. So we have all of them getting very old and not valued, no? Also, when we were seeing, because there were already some pilot projects They tried to have local products, but they faced difficulties in the transport, in the logistic, in the storage space for the farmers. So what they say is that they're lacking like structures that could support the farmers and somehow give them a way of getting to the schools or institutions or whatever they were providing the food. So the farmers, it's more difficult for them to organize themselves and to have all that logistic. Also the plans, the payment plans, and this is something that is, for example, related with the school contracts. So the schools, they pay in 90 days. For the farmers, this is absolutely something that is not possible for them. They cannot wait 90 days to receive the money, because, as we saw, it's a small-scale production. It's something that from that they pay their rents, their costs. So it's something that it's not working with them. And also this, because in the end, what we felt is that we need to restore, to build again relationships of trust. And the farmers, they already did, they already had some of participation in this kind of pilot projects, and it didn't went well. And because of that, they don't trust so much in new solutions. So we face that. They are more in defensive way. What they say is that, okay, now I produced this much, and we already know it's very small scale, but this is familiar, I can control this. When it's something that is larger than us, we are going and say, no, let's go and provide, and the schools, for example, that's very difficult for them to have trust. So it's something that we need to rebuild again. Okay, so this is something that comes from our research, and exactly because of this, we need to gain again the trust. We started to know more the farmers, to start to have field visits. And so we went to visit the local farmers, and not only in our region, we went to visit other regions in Portugal, the ones that could inspire us and that are doing well. So from all of that we gathered, and here's a way of also engaging them in this process of the food sovereignty, to understand really in their field what they do, what are the challenges, and to speak together. And yes, go around and through Portugal, through places and municipalities that already implement something, so they can understand this is possible. They did that, so we can also do in our place. Very important for us, crucial, and since the beginning. We started this with partnership with local associations of organic farmers and conventional producers, and also the local city councils. Without partnerships, it's not possible to go ahead and to be in the same process with all of them together, because they were a little bit working in nucleus, you know, and putting people together, the same team working together. This was what we felt it was crucial. So the partnerships that we established since the beginning, and the awareness raising activities. So we bring this topic many different times, in many different ways, through gatherings, through roundtables, as we are doing here. So bringing the topic and putting people together to think about how can we implement food sovereignty and what is the importance of this. So in many different moments, we had a topic. Also, so we continue with the collective planning sessions, and which means that we have the agriculture working group that continues the planning. We have the farmers association, and and the integral cooperative that I'm going to talk about, and they're the stakeholders that we get together, and so we keep the collective planning sessions. And just to finish our plans, it's the community harvest. We have here, it's like a pilot project. And this community harvest, so it's related with our sovereignty plan, and as I mentioned, so we have a very getting old population, so we have a lot of land with fruit trees or olive trees, and because they are so old, they don't pick up, they don't harvest the fruits and the olives anymore because they don't have conditions and they don't want to pay. It's not enough to pay to someone to do it. So what we started to have and to bring again, because it was something that were happening in the past, it's community harvest. So putting people together in the community to go to farm and to farm, to collect together what is there. And this is something that is completely irrational for us to go in our way and to go to the supermarket to buy our orange, and there's a lot of orange on the ground because no one was harvesting. So it's just to invert this idea and bringing again the community aspect really strong and putting people together to take advantage of our resource, to value our resource. Okay, so this is a little bit what we have now, because we are in the way of our planning, and this is the actions, initiatives that we are in parallel, one with each other, and that for now, in the moment that we are in these partnerships with the city halls, we are now starting to implement the food supply for schools. That can bring us other kind of challenge that I'm going to share, but the idea is with this. So we have the local farmers in the center. It's really to value again this profession that is so important for all of us. And so to create the relationship between them and the schools, the university, the social institutions, the tourism aspects, the restaurants, and the final consumers. So that's the idea of the food sovereignty plan that we are doing. And to implement this strategy, the cooperative was something that we understood is crucial. I already explained that now the local producers, like the majority of them, they don't issue invoices. And because of that, it wouldn't be possible. So a cooperative is really needed in the terms of their accountability, but not only that, because to have someone to support them, to have someone that can bring them together and do these contacts with institutions. Farmers are very practical people, and sometimes these contracts and all these legal aspects, it's very difficult for them. So we need to have someone to support them and a structure to do that. So we have our we created this Cova da Beira Converge, the Converge Cooperative, Cova da Beira Cooperative, and the idea is to promote the integral sustainable development of Cova da Beira and to boost the local economy, fostering the resilience and self-sufficiency through cooperation between local producers and also the cultural, social, educational organizations, public organizations and companies and consumers. It's a little bit the mirror of the Cova da Beira Converge movement, but now it's a cooperative. And why it's important? Because now we need to to act in the local economy. We need to have commercial changes. So that's why it's so important to have a cooperative. And it's integral, which means that in one cooperative we can respond to many different areas. So not only the agriculture, but all the others. And so this will be for us a driving force for creating opportunities to provide a fair income and improving the quality of life of the region inhabitants. So that why we have like the prosumers, that the consumers and the producers in the same organization, in the same cooperative. So they have that. So for now we have 15 founding members and 5 organizations that are part of this cooperative, and we are starting now. And as I'm saying, so the Integral Cooperative, it's a multi-sectoral cooperative. We have this legal possibility in Portugal to have cooperatives with all these different aspects. So we want to answer to many different needs and areas. And we think because of this, it's possible to share more resources. Imagine that we have here, and besides that, we can share more resources and we can be more together. So the cooperation is stronger if we are part of the same organization. Even if I'm from agriculture and you are from culture, maybe we have something in common we can share. Why should I be with one accountant, one communication team, etc., etc. So we can share all of these resources, and because of that we can cooperate more. But this idea of integral cooperative, it's something that came up actually in Spain. So with Catalan integral cooperative, it was where it started. And the idea is to have this cooperative that operates in specific territories, so it's something that is focused in one specific community, and the aim is to intervene in all areas of necessary for living to satisfy the needs of its members in all economic areas. So the food, the housing, the health, education, social protection, culture, transport, etc., etc. So it's this idea that with one cooperative we can answer to the needs, that is the basic needs of everyone, and not only the basic needs, but the quality of life of this community. As I mentioned, so this started in Catalonia, so the Catalan Integral Cooperative, and so we are somehow engaging with this movement, the Integral Cooperative movement. In Portugal, it was in 2015, it was one cooperative created, it's Minga, it's the first one, in the south, Monte Moro Novo, and since that, more than 13 integral cooperatives and other cooperatives that created already a network of integral cooperatives, and we are already part of this. And not only, so in Portugal, the movement is created, but an Iberian network of integral cooperatives, it's getting started and getting stronger. So we feel this is very promising. We are very excited with the potential of this network, and it's really incredible to see the level of cooperation between these integral cooperatives. We share everything, which means I never had a cooperative before. I don't know nothing about it, how I started, how it is, how is the legal aspect. And we have this network that shares everything, the support in all levels. Okay, so this was our sharing, and just to finish my presentation, just leave you with this sentence that is something that's a movement, Zapatista movement. It's also Samaj movement, so it's that says, well, in Spanish, vamos despacio porque vamos juntas porque vamos lejos. So which means that we are going slowly because we are going together, and we are going together because we are going far. And that's what we want to do, to create more cooperation and going far together, even if it's slowly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Filipa. That was wonderful. and I really thank you for bringing this presentation to us. It's wonderful to see what you guys do all the way over in Portugal, and something that I find is just incredibly inspiring, especially something I think is a goal of a lot of our environmental law students, is the general overall food sovereignty. Something that I believe is very difficult for us in America to find, and all difficult for the entire world. So I thank you for that. It was a wonderful presentation. I believe I have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions, and I might just get right started. So in terms of, this one's for Filipa first, in terms of organizations, what were certain organizations, like I know we have Kelly here from Feeding Westchester, what kind of organizations do you see here in the United States that might be able to organize something like block level planning?
Well, I think you are the best ones to answer to that question, because you know who is with the best capacity and the best motivation to do this. What I could say is that you can start with anyone, actually, and I'm sharing this because when we started with PRIP, when I was sharing, there's a team of 3 people, but in the beginning we were 1, and it was me, and I didn't know nothing about this, so I was reaching people that could know more and could support, and then we had the possibility to have more people in the team. What I say is that any organization that has the willing of implementing something that is going to activate these local food systems can come from anywhere, and then with the willing of cooperating with others, because no one can do nothing alone. So it's not so much who is going to do it, it's with whom you are going to work with and willing to work with.
Thank you. I actually think, yeah, maybe even Professor Brown could give maybe a spiel about the Food and Farm Clinic, and maybe organizations that you possibly see could be implementing something similar to that, or if you've seen it in your career.
Sure. Well, first off, Filipa, thank you. That was really inspiring, and got my gears turned in for everyone here about how we can try to emulate what you're doing in our region. So very briefly, and Jack did a good job introducing it before, our program here in our clinic, we have law students doing legal work, we work with supervisors, myself, and we have a staff attorney, Jack Hornicle. And we, I think in your words, what we're trying to do is trying to support a decentralized economy. So we represent small farms, we represent small nonprofits in this region, mainly the Hudson Valley, and also to use your words, I think you said it perfectly, farms face a lot of challenging legal aspects for everything they do. Think about everything involved with farming, access to land, access to financing, different structures. We're working with clients that are doing it as a for-profit business, as collectives and cooperatives, as nonprofits, all the regulation they face, all the land use issues. It's a lot. And so we want to support small businesses that, again, can build a more decentralized economy that, people can, as you all know, we want to be able to know where food comes from, eat from our local farmers. We want our schools to be able to access that. There are a lot of challenges. So we're just doing a very small part. What we do with law students, we have students helping people, establish a business and try to make it resilient with documents, with planning, access land in a way that's sustainable. So it's not just a handshake, but perhaps we have a written lease agreement for a long term so farmers can be secure and build what they need to build. So yeah, very briefly, that's what we do in the clinic. And we do work with cooperatives that could be, worker-owned cooperatives. We work with a lot of folks now. I'd say, you mentioned the challenge of access to land. I'd say that's the #1 challenge that our clients are dealing with, and that we're talking about all the time, and that manifests itself in different ways. We're working with groups that are creating structures like community land trusts. How can they collectively hold land and make land affordable to farmers working together? We're working with groups that are focused on issues of affordable housing for farm workers, and more generally working with a lot of people trying to negotiate for some secure access to land. So yes, we work with small cooperatives. I think what I'd like to see is how can we take that cooperative movement and make it bigger, more regional. We have a different kind of region. Westchester County itself is, I think, about 1 million people, and Hudson Valley, millions of people. So how can we take this kind of model and in some way adapt it here? That's what I'd love to talk about more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor Brown. In your opinion, Professor Brown, do you think that to achieve a more collaborative food system, the change needs to come from consumers, producers, the government, or from every angle? It seems like maybe also even a cultural aspect.
Every angle.
Every angle.
Next question. Yeah, I mean, every angle. I'm thinking a lot about, farm to school. That's something that we've gotten a chance to engage with a little bit, and it's incredibly exciting and incredibly challenging because, again, think about every angle, think about what's involved. We have farmers that want to access their local schools and school districts that want to buy produce from their local farms. They have to deal with procurement laws, federal, state, local procurement laws. That's a challenge for the school districts. It's also a challenge for the farmers because they're trying to navigate this complex bureaucratic system that's new to them. There has to be the will from the schools to, the school districts, the parents, the people on the school board to actually make this an initiative that people care about. So I think that has to come from the government, has to come from our policies, has to come from the consumers, the eaters, the schools, and the farmers. I think the challenge is how do you scale up to be able to access that? Even when, in our experience, there are people that want to participate in farm to institution, farm to school opportunities. Sometimes it's just, even with, we have now, thankfully, in the state policies that encourage schools buying locally and buying at least from New York State. Even with that, for the smaller farms that we're working with, the small to medium-sized farms, it's very hard to access that at the scale they're at. So how do they cooperate with other farms that scale up to access that?
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now this question is for both of you. As I understand it, block level planning is most applicable in rural areas. Do you have any suggestions for implementing a more collaborative food approach in urban areas, maybe for the long term?
So, sorry, so you were saying that my English today, I think it's the jet lag.
Oh, no worries. I get it.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Can you repeat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand that block level planning is mostly attributable to rural areas. You mentioned the population sizes. Is there anything, obviously it would not be the ideal area to do it, but in terms of urban areas, not maybe New York City, but a little larger cities, or do you have any plans for when the population grows?
Yeah, okay. Yes, so my understanding is that the block level planning is possible to do everywhere. The way that you do, it's different. It's going to be different. Of course, the idea is that who can plan for that region, so it's to the local players. We need to put the local players together, and the experts, and the leaders, and the organizations. The idea is that the block level planning is going to create these self-sufficiency blocks that are then together and cooperating with the neighbor, the block neighbor. So it's going to have a lot of them putting together and cooperating all with them. Of course, it's very challenging starting in one city, but in my perspective, we can start in what it's possible for us in our neighbor, and then we can cooperate and doing the same and inspiring the next door neighbor. So it's starting very small, but then we can go to the urban areas, and this can be something that can happen. I'm going just to say that, for example, the idea of the integral cooperatives that we have in Lisbon, it's the capital of Portugal, and they are also doing their work there in the urban cities, and we have a lot of these self-sufficiency projects in small scale in Lisbon city, which means that we need to adjust what is the conditions and the local players that act in each of the places.
And so it seems like maybe it would be just mostly a ripple effect for that matter. And so Professor Brown, I was going to ask you, what obstacles do you see here in the United States, or specifically New York, or even smaller Westchester, that would prevent or hold back something like block level planning?
Yeah, again, just a different kind of region. I don't think this is the answer, this is more a question. Do we think about it as, okay, Westchester's large, Hudson Valley's larger, do we take smaller pieces geographically, or do we look at it not just geographically, but it's a network of small farmers throughout the Hudson Valley, and that's the unit rather than a purely geographic unit. Again, not an answer, it's a question. I think maybe we have to rethink the model depending on the region, and our agricultural region, Hudson Valley, it connects to the city. How do we think about these connections maybe beyond just a small geographic unit?
Absolutely. Well, thank you both. I'd like to open up questions to the audience, if anybody has questions.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is June. My partner is a farmer at one of the largest nonprofit farms in the Hudson Valley. And they have a mission-driven organization to provide food to those who don't have access to food. But for them, they have a limited amount of money that they can pull in through grants, and so they're still very dependent on community-supported agriculture, which is largely only accessible to wealthy people, right, who can pay large sums of money like once or twice a year. So I guess this question could be for either of you, but I guess for you, like how is it that you fund the work that you're doing? And then I guess how do we change that dynamic and make it more accessible for farms that are trying to do this to actually succeed at delivering food to people who need it?
Thank you for the question. I would say, well, we have different levels of funding. So we have our funds for these community-led projects that we are having, like Cova da Beira Converge and the cooperative that we started, and then we have like the funding specifically for the food supply chain. And I'm going to, so for our community projects and Cova da Beira Converge, we have like in Europe, we have European funds that are very much available for this kind of project, and even for the agriculture. So we have the EU funding that we can apply, and we apply. We also have some Prout founders, so it's specific because we are working with the Prout perspective, and we have that. For the food supply, I would say that this is pretty much in Portugal, so the food supply for the schools, it's in the hands, the management, it's in the city councils. And what we are working with, it's exactly what we are trying to do, it's to review the contracts and to understand what is the price that they can give to the farmers. And actually this is something that, because that's why the awareness, the raising awareness is so important for everyone, and the responsibles and the city councils need to be aware that there are some changes that we need to do. In this moment, for example, the contract has the priority, like the lowest price. And we want to change the contracts to say the quality price, to say the short chain aspects, so that the contracts can invert the mentality. That's what we are talking about. We are shifting the mentality. So we need to have the players also shifting the mentality, and that's why we are working so much with the city councils and the organizations to try to do that, for example.
Thank you.
Yeah, the question of CSAs and how to make them more accessible and affordable, I mean, that's a very challenging thing. I know a lot of people are working on it, and just some things I've seen from clients that I think are inspired ideas. Just rethinking the model, like, the traditional model of CSA is you pay at the beginning of a season. What about pay at the beginning of a week, and you don't have to commit to the whole year, the whole season. Sliding scales, so that people pay different amounts based on income. Making food that's focused on being culturally appropriate for different communities, because it's not all the same. And so I think there's people out there working on that, and groups doing really cool things with that. Obviously a challenging problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michelle was the person to answer that. Go ahead.
Obrigada.
I'm really, so I work with the Filipa Center for Regional Food and Farming, and we are focused on building a more just and resilient food system in the Hudson Valley. And so, we have a network of 120 farms that all use the community-supported agriculture model, and we do a lot of programming in this like iterative way that you were mentioning, where we're always going back to the farmers. They're really at the center of the work that we do. But I'm so impressed with your process because I think it's like even so much further along than what we're doing, and really just so impressed with the organized way that you're working, and yeah, I just like continuing to build with the community. I'm wondering, you know, after, in these initial phases, like before you got to implementation, did you know that that you would form this organization and the cooperatives, or were you thinking that that process would lead to identifying projects that existing organizations could implement? Mm-hmm. And have those existing organizations like implemented any other aspects like beyond the core of that, you know, food sovereignty project that you're describing? And if so, yeah, how is that working? How are they funding that?
Yeah. So actually, the idea to implement to create a cooperative, it was something that was based in our work with the Farmers Association. We have two associations that we are really working more close. The one is the Organic Farmers Association. It's small scale. We have less organic farmers. And the other one, they have 3,000 associated farmers. So it's good amount, and we were working since the beginning with them. So the idea of we need to create a cooperative, it was something together. So we understood to answer these needs and to face this challenge, we needed to create one. For example, it's very simple. It was so simple in the beginning. It was the farmers don't issue invoices. We need to create a cooperative because the associations, and we are, as Filipa, we are association, they are association, they cannot do that legally in the accountability aspects. So this was like very simple start, the beginning. And regarding the funding, so it's something that we are dealing with now. We have European level opportunities, but we have also national and regional opportunities. So it's startup, we are starting now, and we are applying for that funds because there are funds available for this. The excitement, even for the city halls, the city councils, they somehow we are bringing them together to, so the community is bringing solution for something that the city councils many times should address. And so somehow there's a responsibility on that. So we are also trying to engage them as much as we can.
Thank you so much. I believe that I might do one quick question, if that's all right.
Hi, Maria. I just have a question. Does the Portuguese government subsidize, like, for specific crops, like to give you incentive to grow things that like are needed? Do they do that? And which crops would that entail? Just curious.
Yeah, they do. And many times this is not aligned with the local needs. So that's the problem. And this is something that we want to work with. So for example, the association that we work, this is what the work that they do. They help the farmers to get access to the national funds and to all the things. But again, as we were saying, that's why it seems to us so obvious that the block level planning is needed. It's because we have national policies that don't express the local needs. So if we are going to see the crops that are funded, it's not related with the needs of the local schools. So how we can do that? So this is something that we are trying to address through alternative aspects and fundings. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry, very quick, yeah.
I just wondered if you're working with any medical professionals, nurses or doctors. Like some people here have implemented vegetables for prescriptions. And there's a doctor I know, he's training medical students on his farm to do lifestyle medicine, and they're teaching people to do regenerative farming.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. No, not yet, but I'm excited to understand that. What we have is that we are really working, and this is something that is in the core values of our working groups. It's to bring more awareness for regenerative approaches of agriculture farming. And so that's why we have the association, the Organic Farmers Association. They have all the knowledge to help and to introduce this more regenerative approach. But that aspect that you were bringing with the doctors and nurseries, we don't have. It's something that is interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, yeah, we are running out of time. We technically should finish at 1:30, but I want to give you guys a couple minutes if you wanted to grab a quick refreshment or a plate to go. We still have a ton of food. But I firstly just wanted to thank you all for coming. It is great to see all these new faces in my school here, and I know us environmental law students are very grateful to have you guys around and grateful for what you guys do. And I'd like to thank Nada for helping us host this, and as well as Professor Brown for helping us out with being a panelist. Thank you. And lastly, I just want to thank Filipa. The work you do is amazing, and it's incredibly inspiring. And so, as we just raise maybe a toast of your lemonade, thank you so much.